while we're waiting for the door and to get started, we can at least do intros. This presentation, first of all, is architecting for sustainability. This is kind of a high level talk. If you want to get deeper and talk about your specific workloads and how to apply these principles, please come to the Onyx table afterwards. I'm going to have my laptop up with a well-architected tool. I'll show you how to use the cost and usage report, for example. But for this, we have 15 minutes. We're going to keep it pretty high level. All right. I am Kate Hargrove. I am an AWS solution architect. I work at Onyx. Previously, I was an enterprise architect at AWS, working with customers in manufacturing and retail, agriculture, automotive, etc. That was a lot of fun, but I'm enjoying the partner side now at Onyx. And I was also on the sustainability team. So when I joined the user group in the Midwest for Cleveland, I saw an opportunity to talk about one of my favorite things. And yeah, that's me.
Hello, I'm Michael. I work with Kate. I have the same background. I work for AWS. Now I work with the Onyx team. I was Greenfield mostly. So I think we're ready to start, Kate.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so a trend you've seen in recent, not even years, it's been in the recent just couple years, is sustainability. And this used to be something that, I don't know, was more of like a hippie thing or a Greenpeace thing, but then it started coming into technology because government started regulating this, customer and employee demands. People were even using it as a way to decide what they're going to buy, what they're going to invest in. And so it started trickling down into organizations, and everyone's having sustainability goals now. And as you all know, that goes down even further to the builders and the engineers, and they're the ones that have to solve the problems on how to impact these goals that leadership are pushing down to us. It's a good thing. It has double benefits. We'll get there. All right. In 2021, AWS released their sixth and final, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So they say it's their final pillar, sustainability. We'll see if there's a seventh coming around the corner. But for now, there's six. And this pillar goes over how to make your workloads more sustainable to impact those goals that your companies are making. They came out with a carbon impact tool. Now, this isn't actually easy to find. So if you're curious where this is, I'd love to show you where it is. It's the cost and usage report. You have to download that. It takes about 24 hours to spin up. Once that's on, you can turn it on. There's a tab for it. All right.
So is that a chart for my account or for Amazon as a corporation?
That's a really good question. I'll cover it for a couple seconds, but due to time, we'll keep it really short. So yes, AWS does have a bunch of reports on their impact that you can use for your goals, but this tool on the previous slide is specific to your workloads. The catch is it's not all inclusive yet. It's still improving, it's still new. So just keep in mind, and there's tools you can do to create your own dashboards. And we'll get to that later as well. All right, everyone in this room has heard of the shared responsibility model, right? It's a thing, yes. They made another one. It's for sustainability. It's the same concept. AWS is in charge of sustainability of the cloud. And we as builders, you as builders are in charge of sustainability in the cloud. I'm gonna give a couple of examples. Now, of the cloud, that's your data centers, that's your water cooling systems, that's the recycling centers, the construction choices that they make. Something cool that I learned recently was in colder climates, instead of using air from AC or something to cool, just open the window. It's winter. What about it's summer, you're in Georgia, you have that like sticky, humid air. Actually, this morning was kind of sticky. They could probably do that here too. Take that condensation and use that water instead of fresh water from the tap. So that's all being done in these data centers. Next, in the cloud. That's what Michael's going to be coming up and talking about later is those specific tools that you can do. There's easy ones like planting trees, purchasing those offsets, optimizing your carbon credits. Those are all things your leadership's doing. But as builders, you can do, yeah, more than just the easy stuff. The fun stuff. All right. Okay. Speaking of fun stuff, architecture. Okay. So this is what I like to call my fantasy HR employee scenario. Picture a job where you're not working evenings and weekends. It's real. Anyways, so yeah. So when that happens, ideally, you don't want your infrastructure on all the time. You don't want it ready for peak performance. Yeah, so something as simple as auto scaling can impact your sustainability goals. And what I want to illustrate here is, I don't know who else was in David's presentation earlier, but it doesn't have to be complicated to be impactful. Even something so simple like auto scaling can impact these goals. But you don't get credit for them if you're not tracking it. You need to be storing this data. You need to be building those dashboards and tracking those numbers and then bringing those numbers to leadership. All right, yeah. Off to Michael.
All right, again, I'm going to be going over some design principles, but I'm asking a few questions before I get into this. How many people in the room have been in the AWS console before? Okay. How many people in the room have created a bucket? All right, this is going to be good. And how many people have created an instance? Okay, so as far as the depth, that's how far we're going to go today for sustainability. Simple things that you can do now to save and support sustainability. So I'll go over some utilization, some managed services, workload placement, just like you see up there, life cycle, well-architected tool. Again, we're going to have all this stuff at our table if you want to come take a look at it. Oh, you didn't give me a little clicker thing.
Oh, I have.
That's an official word thing.
So the middle one.
Oh, you clicked it for me, huh? Okay, so there you go, maximizing utilization. So when I talked about spinning up instances, Kate kind of went over auto scaling, right? So you don't have to worry so much and do all that. If it reaches this point, you want more scaling. What we're concerned about is the utilization. So if you're running 4 servers at 20%, it's going to cost more than running 1 server at 60%. So you take those really small workloads and increase utilization on 1 server. Does that make sense? So you don't have all these little instances. And also for utilization, if you're not using your instances, you spin up some stuff just to test. If you forget about it, it's going to become a zombie. You're going to forget about it. You're going to end up paying for it. And eventually someone's going to yell at you, depending on what kind of instance it was. I went backwards. Okay, so here's managed services. I'm not going to go through managed services, but I will tell you that using managed services, AWS builds in that sustainability when you use managed services. They handle your infrastructure. They're building it in the regions that support sustainability. So when you can use managed services, it'll help your sustainability goals. And then I put lifecycle manager in there. Does anybody here use EBS? One person. Okay, so if you use EBS, this helps you get rid of all those snapshots and you build this big volume of data that you just don't want. I'm sure everybody's seen this before, the regions for AWS. So when you start building your architecture, you're going to want to put your workload next to your customers, right? But if your workload changes, what should you do? What should you do? Anybody? You want to change the region. You want to put it closer to your customers. So pay attention to your architecture. Pay attention to where your customers are, where they're hitting you, and make sure that you go through and make sure you're closest to your customers. And then we have lifecycle rules. Does anybody in here use lifecycle rules? You're my favorite back there. Okay, so this is really good because if you have a lot of data in your organization, the data costs money, the data sits there, and you might not always use the data. So by using lifecycle rules and policies, we can take that data that's more expensive, I don't have a laser, in S3 and move it to inactive, right? And then after a few days, you can put your own math in there. You can move it to Glacier. And not only does this help sustainability, this helps your bottom line. It's cheaper, right? And then if you have stuff you don't need, just delete it. People hold on to data. I mean, like my computer at home, I'm guilty. That's stuff from 1992. You know, I'll never use it. So delete it if you don't need it, and kind of put pressure on people you work with to just, if you don't need it, get rid of it, right? And then Deep Archive, of course, very, very cheap, very cost effective. Yeah. So well-architected tool. We're going to have this at our table. Has anybody here done well-architected review or anything like that? You're not allowed to raise your hand anymore. Okay, so if you're working with an SA, definitely have them go through well-architected review with you. You find out your strengths, your weaknesses, and things that could cause problems. AWS has been doing this for many years. They're very good at it. So they can identify workloads that are running incorrectly, that you might have security problems with, and also sustainability is new. So there's like 6 questions. I expect more soon, but you can see how you're measured against in sustainability. And then if you ever want to know if you're using the right instances, there's a free tool called Compute Optimizer. You can't raise your hand. Has everyone ever? Yeah, you raise your hand. This is free. It tells you if you're using the right instance. It's too big, too small. Yeah, and then always look for new and improved instances. Does anybody know how many instances AWS offers? You didn't raise your hand that time. I don't know either. A lot, right? So many. They're always coming out with more. So as they develop new chipsets, they become friendlier, more eco. So look at that and change over your instance sets. And I'm gonna hand it back over to Kate.
All right.
Okay, so the presentation's not really over. I'm using this slide to talk about something else too. But just to summarize everything first, just by moving to AWS, you get to take advantage of all the things they're already doing to impact your company's or your personal sustainability goals. So that's step 1. Then step 2, Michael walked you through. You can architect and use those green design principles. Look them up. There's a lot of really good blogs out there on that. And second, tracking. This is the important part. You can go to the marketplace, you can, buy one that's already out there, but it's not going to be specific to your workload, so it's not going to be that accurate. So what I'd recommend is building your own. Go to that cost and usage report, download it, set up those CloudWatch metrics, and then point those to an S3 bucket, use something like Athena, and then build a quick site dashboard or whatever one you like the best, and make your own. And then over time, you'll be able to see those changes. All right, so yeah, hope to see some of you at the Onyx table later. If you want to get hands-on with the tool, I can point you in the right direction of all these. If you have any specific questions, are we at time?
And also, if you want the links to the sustainability pillars, things like that, come back and see us. We don't want to put 100 links up here because you can't click it anyway. So if you want that information, you want to know how to get to that